Rare coin collecting. Discover real value and history in every coin.
Here we go with the next coin in our sequence, and this one is easy to understand once you know one simple detail. The 1942 D-War nickel looks like a normal Jefferson nickel, but it marks the exact moment when World War II changed American money. This coin isn't just 5 cents, it's silver, history, and a wartime decision all rolled into one small piece of metal. In 1942, nickel was urgently needed for tanks, weapons, and military equipment. The U.S. Mint couldn't afford to keep using it for coins, so in the middle of the year, they changed the composition of the Jefferson nickel. Instead of the usual copper-nickel alloy, the Mint switched to a wartime mix made of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. That change created what collectors now call the war nickel. Here's the easiest way to spot one. Flip the coin over and look above Monticello. If you see a large mint mark there, in this case, a big D, you're holding a wartime silver nickel. This was the first time in U.S. history that a mint mark was placed above the building, and it was done on purpose so the coins could be pulled from circulation after the war. That simple detail makes this coin easy for anyone to identify. Because these coins circulated heavily during the 1940s and 1950s, many were worn down, damaged, or lost. Later, when silver prices rose, millions were melted. That melting is why war nickels become harder to find each year. Once they're melted, they're gone forever. Even in worn condition, a 1942 D-War nickel is worth more than face value. Circulated examples typically sell for $1.50 to $3 depending on silver prices. Nicer circulated coins can bring $4 to $6. But condition still matters more than most people expect. Uncirculated examples are much scarcer. A clean, mint-state 1942 D-War nickel with strong detail and original luster can sell for $20, $40, or more. And when you add sharp strike quality into the mix, especially full steps on Monticello, values rise quickly. High-grade full steps examples have sold for $500, $1,000, and in exceptional cases, well beyond that. The metal itself tells a story too. The wartime alloy tones differently from normal nickels, often developing soft gray, gold, or even bluish colors. Collectors love attractive toning paired with sharp details. At the same time, the new alloy was harder to strike, which is why many war nickels show weak details. That makes strong examples much scarcer than mintage numbers suggest. What makes the 1942 D-War nickel special is that it's a direct product of wartime necessity. No one made it to be collectible. It was created to support the war effort, and today it stands as a small but powerful reminder of how history can change something as ordinary as pocket change. So, if you ever find a 1942 D nickel, flip it over and check above Monticello. That one detail tells you whether you're holding a regular nickel or a piece of silver history. And depending on condition, that small coin could be worth far more than 5 cents. Here we go with the next coin in our sequence. And this one shows how a very ordinary-looking coin can quietly become special just because of timing, metal, and survival. The 1963 Washington quarter is one of those coins most people completely overlook, even though it comes from a turning point in U.S. history. There's no dramatic error to spot and no missing design element. What makes this coin valuable is much simpler and much easier for anyone to understand. The first thing to know is the metal. Every 1963 Washington quarter is made of 90% silver. That means it's not just a quarter, it's real silver money from before the U.S. stopped using silver in everyday coins. Just 2 years later, in 1965, quarters switched to copper-nickel. So 1963 sits right near the end of the silver era, and that alone makes it important. because it was made to be used. Most 1963 quarters were spent heavily. They went through pockets, cash registers, vending machines, and banks for years. Over time, many were lost, damaged, or melted down for their silver when prices started rising. That melting is a big reason these coins get scarcer every year. Once a silver coin is melted, it's gone forever. In worn condition, a 1963 quarter is still worth more than face value just because of its silver content. Even a heavily circulated example usually sells for $4 to $7 depending on silver prices. But the real value difference comes from condition. And this is where people get surprised. Most surviving examples show wear. The high points on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers wear down quickly. That means finding one that looks sharp, clean, and untouched is much harder than people expect. A lightly circulated coin with decent detail might bring $10 to $20. An uncirculated example changes everything. Mint state coins can sell for $50, $100, or more, depending on how clean they are. Top quality examples are where the numbers jump again. A beautiful, uncirculated 1963 quarter with strong luster, no major marks, and great eye appeal can reach $300 to $500. And truly exceptional examples in very high grades have sold for $2,000, $5,000, and even higher when collectors compete. Those prices are driven by rarity in condition, not mintage numbers. What surprises most people is how many were made, yet how few survive in top shape. The mint struck millions, but that doesn't mean millions survived in collectible condition. Coins were money first, collectibles later. Very few people saved rolls of quarters in 1963, thinking they would be valuable someday. That's why clean examples are locked away in collections now and rarely come back to the market. This coin also connects directly to history. 1963 was the year President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, just before major changes in U.S. coinage began. It represents the end of an era, silver coins, traditional money, and a different time in America. That emotional and historical connection adds to its appeal. The 1963 Washington quarter proves that a coin doesn't need a dramatic error to be valuable. Sometimes value comes from metal, condition, and survival. So if you come across one, don't spend it. Look at the details. Check the wear. Because what looks like an ordinary quarter could actually be a piece of real silver history worth far more than 25 cents. Here we go with the next coin in our sequence. And this one is one of the easiest pieces of silver history you can still understand at a glance. The 1963 silver Roosevelt dime looks simple, but it comes from the final years when U.S. dimes were made of real silver. There's no dramatic error to hunt for and no complicated variety to memorize. The value of this coin comes from metal, timing, and survival. In 1963, every Roosevelt dime was struck in 90% silver. That changed just 2 years later, in 1965, when rising silver prices forced the U.S. Mint to remove silver from dimes entirely. From that point on, dimes were made of copper and nickel. That makes 1963 part of the last generation of silver dimes, and that alone gives it lasting importance. These dimes were used heavily. They passed through pockets, cash registers, buses, and vending machines. People didn't save them. They were money, meant to be spent. Over time, many were worn down, lost, or damaged. Later, when silver prices rose, huge numbers were pulled from circulation and melted. That melting is the main reason silver dimes become scarcer every year. Even in heavily worn condition, a 1963 silver dime is always worth more than face value. Most circulated examples sell for $2 to $3 depending on silver prices. Nicer circulated coins can bring $4 to $6. But condition still matters more than most people think. Uncirculated examples are where things change. Most 1963 dimes show wear on Roosevelt's hair and the torch on the reverse. Finding one with full luster, sharp detail, and clean surfaces is much harder than it sounds. A clean mint state 1963 dime can sell for $20, $40, or more. High-grade examples with strong eye appeal and original toning have sold for $200, $500, and even higher when competition is strong. The metal itself explains why good examples are scarce. Silver is soft, so it wears quickly. Small scratches and contact marks show easily. That's why collectors pay close attention to strike quality, luster, and overall appearance. Two coins from the same year can have very different values just because one was handled more carefully than the other. What makes the 1963 silver dime especially appealing is how easy it is to recognize. You don't need a scale or special tools. Just check the date. If it's 1964 or earlier, it's silver. That simplicity is why so many people start their collecting journey with silver dimes. This coin also represents the end of an era. It comes from a time when everyday change was made from precious metal, when money had weight and intrinsic value. As more of these dimes disappear into collections or melting pots, fewer remain available. So the next time you see a 1963 dime, don't rush past it. Look at the date, feel the weight, and check the condition, because that small silver coin might be worth far more than 10 cents, and it carries a piece of American history in the palm of your hand.